Mike's working.
And they'll decide to charge you $60
Hey,
tonight.
hey,
And I said,
Ben, check yours, because I had to plug in two.
Yes.
Okay, all right. And James, I had to put one there for you. Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn it back off. Okay, thank you. One side in. Get sat down.
All right, would like to call to order the April 9th meeting of the Spalding County Board of Elections and Registration. If you would, please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. And if you would stand, James is going to do the invocation and Dexter's going to do the pledge.
please join me in a word of prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, we are gathered here tonight to do the will of and to represent the voters of Spalding County. We pray that you would guide our deliberations, that we might do that which is best for them and best for the law, and not that which is best for us. We pray that thy Spirit would guide us in these deliberations. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me for the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Next up, citizen comments. We do not have anybody signed up, so I'm going to skip reading everything, unless there's any objection there. No. Next up is going to be adoption of the agenda. Do we have any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
implementation of the bylaws.
Okay,
That would be under old business.
that would be under, well, implementation. We haven't talked implementation, right?
No, we just passed.
We passed them, so it would be new business? Okay. All right, do you have anything else? All right, would you state that in the form of a motion?
Oh, yes. I'd like to move that we consider the implementation of the bylaws.
On the agenda and new business.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
do you
you.
have a second?
Second.
All right, do we have, I guess all in favor of adding that? Okay. 4-0 carries. If we don't have anything else, a motion will be in order to approve, to adopt the agenda.
I so move.
All right,
Second.
Jim, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
4-0 carries. Approval of the minutes. If y'all will turn to the minutes section in your binder. Got approval of the March 18th regular monthly meeting minutes and the March 26th special call meeting minutes. If y'all have had a chance to review, or when y'all do, motion will be in order to either amend or approve the minutes.
On the special call meeting, March 26, 2024,
Okay?
the minutes reflect that I was absent, I actually attended.
That's all right.
I got you. Yep, it does have the right time, but,
No, I'm sorry, say that again.
so we've got absent were Roy McLean and Dexter Wimbish,
Okay.
for March 26th, and Dexter showed up, was,
All right, sorry about that.
all right. So I guess I need a motion to
I
amend.
move that we adopt the amendment, the minutes as amended.
There we go, perfect.
Second.
Second, Dexter second.
Third.
All in favor? 4-0. We have adopted the minutes as amended. All right, or we've approved the minutes as amended, excuse me. Election supervisor report.
Good evening, everybody. Board members.
Okay.
You're just right on. You're good. You're good. Okay, first up is voter registration update. So if you will look, the Spalding County, 3 pages over, it says Spalding County Board of Elections and Voter Registration, April 9th. So as of April 9th today, we have 51,810 registered voters. Just a quick overview. March 28th, we received the go-ahead from the Secretary of State's office to begin processing our dashboard and any other voter registration records updates that we had received via mail or walk-in. So there is a breakdown in front of you there. As you can see, during the period of time that we're not allowed to process due to the election, a good bit accumulates on the dashboard. And just out of the 1,002 items that have been processed down below, you see the breakdown. Transfers into Spalding County were 242. Brand new voters to Spalding County, 116. Within county address changes, 152. Name changes, 30. And Department of Driver's License updates to their voter registration with no changes. If you look there at how large the number is, 462. So there's a lot of work acquired during a period of time, and especially with what we call duplicates. It's not a duplicate voter registration record. It's the same information of a voter that has not changed. So forth, deceased voters, 62, mail-in, walk-in, that means what was mailed to our office or either they walked in. Breakdown of 13 new voters, 12 transfers into our county, and 10 updates with no changes, because we always have them to go ahead and complete a voter registration card because there may be something that has changed, even though we do check that when they're in there in the office. Online voter registration, 78 new voters. My voter page, 47 voter registration updates. That means through my voter page, which is the portal that the Secretary of State offers, means that 47 voters utilized that portal to update their voter registration information. Felons, the last report we received by the Secretary of State's office was February the 24th, and of course that one was processed. But that's the last report that we have received. Precinct cards. Early last week, our office received, I believe, Sandy, I know we have a podium in between us, but I think it was, there you are. It was about 2 months ago or a month and a half ago that we requested the precinct card order. So if you all remember, we were under a court-mandated redistricting that affected the House, only the House district, but that changed every single voter in Spalding County. Why is that? Because they not only changed some of the lines, voters who were not affected by the lines, the legislature, they changed the number of the House districts. So therefore, that affects every single voter. So we had made that request a month and a half to 2 months ago for precinct cards to be printed for all of our voters. And we did receive them last week, and we've been working on those. As you can imagine, that's a pretty big undertaking and pretty expensive. I have already reached out. That was an unexpected incurred expenditure, but I've already reached out to the Secretary of State's office and said, asked them when would we see some grant information, because normally when it's a mandated redistricting, we are sent information about grant money. So Director Blake Evans of the Elections Division said they were working on that and should have it to us soon. So I will, put that in as soon as I receive it, in hopes to receive some of that money back. So I just want to add here that Sandy had added, although our office has been through many changes in the last few weeks, Kelly and I are committed to our voters, this office, and the staff within the office. As you know, Sandra Hardy is our voter registration coordinator, and this report is submitted by her. So that is the voter registration report. I'm going to move forward. If you'll flip back to my report, the election supervisor report, the next item on the report is March election update. So I know we've met for certification and for budget review, but I just wanted to share a little bit about the presidential preference primary, that it was successful. I visited precincts, and outside of a few corrections, poll managers and poll workers, they were ready to go, and they were ready to serve our voters of Spalding County, and just are really doing a good job. It helps me to do that. I was glad to go out and see. It helps me what I can implement in training, and just to better aid them in operating the poll on Election Day. The main issue, though, that we saw or that we heard about and was reported to us was the ICP scanner. That stands for Image Cast Precinct, because a voter is casting an image to the precinct via or through the scanner when they cast their paper ballot, okay? So we did hear of some delays in accepting, or it rejected, and we would put it back in. We did run prior to LNA, actually, we ran what's called a cleaner sheet through all of our ICP scanners. So thus far, that's all we can do. But I'm just making you aware as a board that we did hear some issues with those. Did it work? Did it take the ballot? It did, but sometimes it took a couple of times, okay? So just want to make you aware of that. We will be watching that and observing that very closely. The thing with logic and accuracy, the difference between logic and accuracy and Election Day, logic and accuracy, yes, you're running several ballots through an ICP scanner, but nothing like you are on Election Day. a lot more run through on election day. So you really can't see, get a really good feel for what's happening with that scanner when you're only running a certain amount through logic and accuracy. But still, we will, please see the important dates. And I do want to share this with the public as well. Thought it would come in a little bit larger. It did on my computer anyway. But anyway, the important dates, and instead of putting that all again in my report, this is a document that we have already drawn up within the office for voters. And so just list there, of course, the election day, the deadline for registering to vote, very important in order to be eligible for the May 21st election is April the 22nd. Now, to those who may be viewing from home, just a reminder there, you do not need to register every single time for every single election. It's only if you are not a registered voter, or maybe you need to update your information. But that deadline to do that is April the 22nd, and a good way to confirm your information, your voter information, is through My Voter page. Also, our office as well, we're more than glad to assist voters, but My Voter page is a great resource for that through the Secretary of State's office. Then you have before you the advance voting dates. And then the first day, the Office of Elections and Voter Registration can begin receiving requests. That's already passed. We're in the process of still receiving those. That began on March. So as you can see, we were working on a May election prior to the March election. So a lot to keep up with there. First day that the Office of Elections and Voter Registration can begin mailing out absentee ballots. This is very important because a lot of people will submit an application and they'll twiddle their thumbs, where is my ballot? Where is my ballot? I still have not received my ballot. But the law states that we only can begin mailing those out April the 22nd, that date there again, okay? So last date to submit an application for an absentee ballot by mail is May the 10th. Just wanted to review those things with you, and you're welcome to take that out. If you would like to take it with you, you're more than welcome to. Qualifying, you have a sheet in there for who has qualified. If you'll just go on over to candidates who qualified between March 4th and March 8th. I'm not going to read those all out to you unless you would like for me to, but it is broken down between nonpartisan, partisan Republican, and partisan Democrat, okay? Any questions so far, whether it be on the important dates or whether it is for candidates who have qualified? Okay, office renovation date, or update, excuse me. Phase 2 of the office renovation is near completion. We will hold a Board of Elections and Voter Registration walkthrough from 9 until 11 a.m. Now, you all know as a board, you're welcome anytime. It's your office. But we are setting this time aside for this purpose so that you can come through, you can see the changes, because I know a few of you have seen some of the changes, but there's been some pretty big changes even since then.
Did you say what the date was?
Did I not put it there, walk through? I sure did not, but it's next Thursday. I apologize for that. Next Thursday.
April 18th?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. So April the 18th, 9 to 11. Okay, we'd love to see you there. A notice of possible quorum will be posted. So if 2 or 3 or more of you are there, we'll be fine. But it will be posted on the webpage and also at our office as well. Okay? Poll worker training will begin next week and will continue for 2 weeks. Just a reminder there, it seems like we just did poll worker training, and we did, but the law mandates that we do it each and every time with the exception of a runoff. So if we do have a runoff in June, which it is looking like we will have a runoff in June, due to that there were 6 Republicans to qualify for Congressional District 3. And then there is a board, I think School Board District 4 had 3 to qualify. So that right there, especially with that congressional district, we will probably be looking at a runoff unless we're right at a miracle. I haven't seen it yet. So we'll see. But so law mandates that we train each and every time with the exception of a runoff. So just to remind you of that. Looking ahead, reminder that the board voted to reschedule the May and June meetings for certification of election purposes, and the meetings are as follows. So normally we're on our the Tuesday, but it will be a Tuesday, but it will be no, it's not a Tuesday, excuse me. It's the Monday after the week of the election for the certification purposes, okay? And the dates are there before you, being May 28th and June 24th. That has been posted on our website ever since you voted on the election calendar year or meeting dates from at the beginning of the year. Okay, now we'll move to the next page, which is to a request from me, the election supervisor, to remove the mandated hand count that was mandated by you, the board, for each election. So I just want to take a little time here. First and foremost, I desire transparency and accountability to ensure that all Spalding County votes count as they should. Results of hand counts reflect, and these are hand counts that have been conducted by our office and staff and poll workers and have been witnessed, that the text on the ballot coincides with that of the results loaded into the election management system on election night. I've stated to many of you several times that my concern as an election supervisor lies within the QR code. The QR code represents the ballot style, the contest for which a voter casts their vote within. We have found a few errors at different times within the EBD, those are electronic ballot delivery ballots, which apply to UOCAVA voters. So I want to break this down for you real quick. The Secretary of State's office, is responsible for electronic ballot delivery. We do not send any voters an electronic ballot by email, okay? That is the Secretary of State's responsibility. Any other UOCAVA voters that request a ballot to us to be mailed to them, we do that. So what happens with an electronic ballot delivery? So it's delivered to them electronically, but they must print it off, vote the ballot, and then mail it back to us. So this is what we have seen a few times. When the ballot has been returned to us, we have to, for the most part, duplicate their choices onto an actual paper ballot. Board Member O'Brien has been a part of this, along with Board Member James Newland, and there have been others as well. So what we have seen a couple of times is that, well, more than a couple, but that we pull the paper ballot to adjudicate or to duplicate it on, and everything's not lining up. Maybe it was a different House district. So I never just assume that we are always right, because we're all human. So I will always check to ensure that I'll look at a map, the actual map. What should this voter have received? Okay? So what we have seen is that sometimes they're not receiving the correct ballot with the QR code. However that works with the state. I don't know. We're not informed on that part. I don't know how that operates for them. Okay? I'm making you aware as the board that more than anything is my concern with ballots. But to move forth with my request to you all, and I explained what the error is, and each time to answer any question out there, well, did you communicate it with the Secretary of State's office? Yes, I did. So I just want you to understand. Now, I've not received an answer on that specific question, but it has always, anything that I ever see like that, I immediately communicate with the Secretary of State's office. Okay? So my two major concerns about hand counts. One, it is challenging to acquire and retain the poll workers needed for the full election process. We cannot afford to overwork our poll workers and our staff and risk losing anyone. Anyone. I need each and every poll worker and staff throughout the remainder of this year. The time frame between the May and June elections is simply too short of a period of time to conduct the board-mandated hand count and to be able to effectively conduct all other duties which are required for the election process. Therefore, and I think I can speak to that, the board members too, anyway, have witnessed and even though you may not know all, you have seen what is entailed if you do it right in a hand count. And so therefore, I'm asking you, the board, to consider removing the hand count mandate until further review by this board and the staff, along with staff. So that concludes my report to you all. That was submitted on the agenda as an action item, as we need to know how to plan going forward for the May election. If you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them.
All right. Anybody have any discussion or questions for Kim?
Kim, do you feel as though you could do any percentage of a hand count for May or June?
It depends on what type of percentage you're looking at, because
Would you do 10%?
we will already, well, I would have to figure out, that would be 10% of how many votes, and I don't know. I could go back and look at history,
Yeah.
but, we had 6,000, a little over 6,000, we counted this last time. But do keep in mind, we will be conducting the risk limit audit, and I'm just giving you information to think on here. The risk limit audit that is mandated by the state, and there is legislation out there now that looks like is going to increase how much we are auditing for that. We are still awaiting, my understanding is there have been many legislation acts that have been put before, or several, I should say, put before the governor to sign. We are awaiting, we meaning all counties, are awaiting this information, how it's going to affect us, what it's going to look like. So I really can't be real detailed, but I can tell you that there has been a change in the legislation to increase what we're already doing for the Secretary of State's office.
So you may be doing that many for the risk limit audit already?
Maybe, I don't know what that change, the way when I read the legislation, it just sounded that it would be more than what we are doing now, but I can't.
I understand that a bill has passed that eliminates the QR code starting in '26, right? I don't think it's been signed by the governor yet. It hasn't been signed yet, yeah.
But it would be like 26 before.
Right, but that takes us well past 24, yes, okay.
Good. You guys have anything?
Have any hand counts that been performed
3 as of date.
Hmm?
3,
with those?
right, or 2, I may be wrong on that, 2.
Out of those
2.
2 hand counts, did you see any major discrepancy between?
No, and I'll be honest, the very first hand count we did, it was new, we were learning our way, and we wanted to be very thorough. So there were, within the very first few precincts, some discrepancies, but we kept going because we knew we needed to finish it. And, but at a certain point, we stopped and would go back and find those discrepancies, and we were always able to find them. Now, this very last audit that we did, we stopped each and every time. And it was always human. It was human error. We just weren't catching it.
So just to clarify, you're saying that the human error was in
The counting.
all hand counting process, not in things on the ballot, not matching what was tabulated.
And what we did also to help with that, we would have 4 teams, okay, 4 audit teams, 2 each. So if one team, if that batch of 50 were off, were not balancing to what was loaded or what was showing was loaded in the election management system, we would give that batch to a different team to count instead of giving it to the same team.
Kim, did I understand correctly that when you look at May and June, you used the guesstimate of 6,000?
Oh, no. I said that's what we counted over 6,000
Okay.
in this last audit. You will be looking at more than 6,000 ballots in May.
Okay.
Yes.
So my concerns around that are, one, the scope. In other words, that up to this time, we've had limited people that we've had to hand count. This thing could be bigger, and that would impact cost, staffing, and volunteers. So I know that some counties consider reducing the scope of a hand count. That may be something to consider. If not,
I just want you to keep in mind as you think about this, between May and June, May 21st and June 18th, we will turn around and submit to the state the results of our election, of the May 21st election, then begin preparing immediately for L&A before. So that's why sometimes you only see 3 days of early voting, because you're having to, I'm getting to you, Dexter, but because you are having to logic and accuracy every single precinct for early voting. Does that make sense? Okay. Dexter?
Is it your opinion that the elimination of the hand count requirement will increase your office's effectiveness and efficiency?
Oh, sure. I mean, well, and now, I don't want to say efficiency, but it can affect morale, because everyone becomes tired. Our poll workers work less than we do. They're hard working now, but they work less than we do. And you even begin to see in them at the end of a hand count, when they have helped with other processes and procedures, 3 weeks of early voting, what have you, you see people become tired. And it is a lot of information at one time. But efficiency, I do everything in my power I can to never compromise efficiency.
Kim, I have the utmost confidence in your office and you and everybody working on stuff, but like we implemented this as a mechanism to show to the general public accountability and transparency to the best of our ability, in terms of, are we doing everything we can to, gain public trust that what somebody voted for is what the end result was, outside of the whole machines or whatever. That was, I think, the intent of what we were doing here. Also, we've got 4 people on the board tonight, so there's a real chance that something could get stuck at 2-2. So I would like recommend that maybe instead of doing 10%, maybe we do a random race. Would be a
Random race
better,
would be fine.
would be a better.
could you just say more what that is?
Yeah, so James was bringing up, okay, can we do 10% of the ballots? Let's say, everybody voted 51,000, whatever, right? That would be 5,100 and something. Instead of doing that and picking out 10% of the ballots, one race would be chosen at random, and then those would be tabulated and checked against. Which, Kim, if you could, the risk limiting audit, if you could, versus a percentage versus one race, what do they ask for on the risk limiting audit? How is it different than a full audit?
The last time that we, or not the last time, this last election, this last election, we were asked to do one race in early voting,
And
it took a full day.
And we counted all the ballots, so we counted 100% of the ballots for one
That's
random
right.
race.
So you look at one race, you're looking at every single precinct and all of early voting, because early voting is considered its own precinct. Just a reminder there, okay? So
you mentioned this time the risk limiting audits in the past. Have they been different and not focused on one race, or have they been focused on a precinct, or have
It's
they
usually focused on the race.
on a race for the whole county?
But they don't do a race across the board. Now, I don't know what legislation's going to do. They will say your batch so-and-so.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's a subset by batch numbers of a certain race.
right.
Okay, so it's not actually a full count. Okay, that's my understanding. I wanted to make sure
Okay.
that we weren't doing like duplicate. Dexter?
I guess my concern would be, if we got 51,000 people voting, 10% of 51,000 is 5,100. 5,100 is not far from the 6,000 that you did, that you're saying is affecting the morale of the office and people being tired. I'm not sure that a limited hand count would be any better than what we're doing now, just because of the numbers. And I'm reading the report, it sounds like that the director is saying, my staff can't handle this hand count in conjunction with these two races coming up.
Well, the
That-
time in between is what is the huge challenge. And when I tell you it's a huge challenge, it's a huge challenge.
And I think probably, my position would be, I would rather give the staff what they need without encumbering them with something that's not legally required anyway, as opposed to trying to find a compromise where we're really looking at the same numbers. I don't really see much of a difference between the 6,000 hand count and the potential 5,100 if we use the number of 10% of 51,000. I don't see a difference. So I'm not sure how that will help the office.
So that was in response to James's suggestion of doing 10%, right? Versus a single
Because
race
that's
or
what to make
versus
sure
full.
that the office is getting what they want. And if you look at the numbers, I don't think us reducing it down to 10% is really going to help them any, because essentially it's going to be the same numbers that they just had in the last election.
Well,
Are we expecting 100% turnout? I'm not.
No, we're just.
I
we're
think
just
we'd be
using
lucky to
round-
get 40,
Using round numbers.
yeah. And that'd be 20,000, so it'd be 2,000 we'd be counting.
Right.
If you chose a race that wasn't a countywide race,
Well, I think we should choose at random. I don't think we should pick one at all. I think that we should choose one at random, whatever method you want to use for random.
well, random could be drawing names out of a hat, and
Could be.
and you could just put the,
worst one on
county
there.
commission and the school board and in the hat, and not the larger races.
If you really want to, and I understand the transparency, there are a large group of people out there who are concerned about the voting system and what have you, and I understand it. I really do. I have seen things from my end, and I have somewhat different concerns because of what I see, okay? But I respect what is felt or what is interpreted by the public across the board, okay? If you really want to continue with, if you think that it's essential to continue with it, but you want to reach out and with it and do something for our staff as well and help us out, then what you would do is you would choose, as Stephanie was saying, maybe a couple of races that do not affect the whole county. If you choose, for instance, the congressional district or I think congressional district, well, in the Senate 16, you choose those, we're going to be doing the same thing that we did for the presidential preference, which took us about, I believe, 3 days. And that was one race. One race. 3 choices. Excuse me.
Actually 4.
Yeah.
So
I know, I was getting back to that. Actually, it was 11 on one and 3 or 4 on 3 or 4 on the other, yeah. So.
I was actually talking about valid motions of options to move forward. Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, like, every race, like, my trust of the system goes back down to 0. And it's like, prove that, you know, what we input is what we ended up with, like, after every single race. So, in technology, if you don't operate with 0 trust, you can get hit with really bad stuff. But, and I would presume, since all this stuff's based on technology, that, you know, trusting the system is like not really a great thing to do. That being said, sounds like we've got 4 choices. If y'all think of any other options, 1 would be do nothing. 2 would be eliminate all hand count. 3 would be to do a certain percentage hand count in some form or fashion. 4 would be to do a single race, random, maybe limiting the options to non-countywide, maybe not. So that's the 4 things I've heard the board and Kim bring up.
Another question I have is, are we doing this for these 2 races only?
That would be valid to put on the motion. I personally would feel that whatever we do would be a temporary thing.
That's
and
what I
we would
want,
revisit
yes.
it later. I hate that Roy's not here.
Right,
I know he would have feelings about this.
he would. Roy needs our prayers, by the way.
All right. Anybody want to venture a motion? If it fails, we can do another one.
I'll make the first one. I note that we forgo the hand count for the May and June elections.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Dexter, second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, motions to forego the hand count for May and June elections. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, I kind of knew what was going to happen, but, all right. We can try again.
Yeah. I'm just trying to decide where I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
I
if-
encourage you
if-
guys, in other words, I'll flat out say I'm open to a compromise.
I think we are too.
We have to do something.
Yeah.
We absolutely have to
Okay.
do something.
My concern is, the staff just worked like slave drivers, I'm not kidding. It was exhausting. And towards the end there, that just was very grueling. It was hard getting more poll workers to keep, and it was exhausting for the staff, if I remember correctly, were working on, was it a Saturday?
Mhm.
Oh, we worked, I think, 5 Saturdays
Several
in a row.
Saturdays, yep.
Yeah.
I believe.
Okay.
About 5 Saturdays in a row.
That's my concern, so if we can come to some agreement that, in a sense, recognizing that we don't want to burn them out, I'm willing to consider it.
Dexter?
I make a motion that we suspend all hand counts except in the state court judge race, which is a nonpartisan race.
Okay. Do we have a second?
There's no opposition in that race. I just want you to understand that.
Say again?
There's no opposition in that race.
Wait a minute, did you say?
I don't know that that matters to you
I'm
all.
sorry, I thought
but-
you said, did you say probate or magistrate?
State court.
State,
State
okay,
court.
state, okay.
Or any nonpartisan.
So Dexter, if we choose one that's countywide, it's gonna introduce the same issue that I think you're wanting to avoid, which would be touching all the ballots.
So that means we gotta.
It
do
would
one of
be-
A
District.
county commission or a school
Or
board.
school board, yeah,
Which are just district
Uh,
specific.
fifth,
Well,
Right.
I'll amend my motion to say school board, district.
It's 2 and 4,
two-
what are
two
up.
and four.
2 and 4?
Yes, sir.
But you have to do, okay, yeah, that's right, okay. I was going Republican primary in my mind at first, but that's nonpartisan. So,
2 and 4?
yes, and they both have opposition.